Hello, it's Jeanette with Amazing Paper Crafts. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm back with another video tutorial, and today I'm going to show you how I did this card, the shading on the back of this card, the background, and the beautiful little stamp set that I'm going to be using on this. Now, I didn't go show you how to do the envelope. I do have a video where you can alter one of Stampin' Up's envelopes to fit this card, and this is a 4 1/4 by 4 1/4 card. So I will make sure to put a link in the description. So if you'd like to learn how to make this card or how I did this card, just continue watching. So these are the pieces that you're going to need for your card. This piece here measures, this is the Rich Raspberry, and it measures 8.5 by 4 1/4, and I've scored it at 4 1/4 to make my square card base. And then I'm going to need a piece of black for layering. This is basic black, and it measures 4 by 4. So it's going to layer perfectly all the way around with an even border. And this is what I'm going to be doing my coloring and stamping on. And this piece here measures 3 7/8 by 3 7/8. So that's going to have a real thin layer of black on here when it's all said and done. But what you're also going to need is something to use as a mask. And I have just chosen a little piece of scrap grid paper, and I'm going to be die cutting it with my frame from the Hippo and Friends Frames die. I'm going to use the largest of this design, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this to my die cutting machine, and I'm going to cut this as close to the middle as I can, and I will be right back. So I've got this piece cut out of it, and this is the piece I'm going to be using. And this is going to be adhered temporarily with some removable tape, and it's just going to go over here on the corners here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put some removable tape on every corner and on the sides, just a little thin on the sides here, every corner. Hopefully I have enough in here. I haven't run out. No, I haven't run out. Okay, I'm putting it on the corner here. Now I could put it on here, on this piece here, but it seems like every time I do, it just doesn't want to line up correctly. So let's just line this up the best we can and try not to leave any white border on the outside. Okay, there we go. This is all taped down, and now we're ready to do our shading and coloring. So I'm just going to bring in a scrap piece of paper. And now what most people do, and it's fine the way they do it, is they will take their blending brush. I'm going to be starting out with some Mossy Meadow. They'll take their blending brush and they will, rub it in their stamp pad. Of course, you can use the bigger pads here. And then blot off and then shade. But what I've discovered is that if I just take a little bit of this ink on a block and I rub it like this, I'm not rubbing straight into the ink pad, and it's kind of, I'm kind of distributing it a little bit better on my brush where it's not so solid when I start to do my shading or my coloring. So I'm going to start with this Mossy Meadow, and I can make this as dark as I want to. I'm going to be, I just add more ink on here, but I'm not going to be dabbing this brush into that, into all that ink. So all I do is just add a little bit more ink to my block, and then I take it and I just brush the ink off my block, and so I don't have that solid, bold blob of ink that I have to worry about, taking off the brush before I start shading. So I just kind of discovered this method just kind of by accident. I really do like shading this way. It's I don't feel like I'm wasting a lot of ink. Just add just a little bit more ink where I need to, and there you go. That's my shading right there on the bottom here. So the next shade that I'm going to use is Sahara Sand. I'm just going to turn this block around here. I'm going to go in with Sahara Sand, but I want to do a little bit of blending with a brighter color I was thinking of like maybe going with yellow. I just kind of wanted to brighten that up, or just make it a little bit, I don't even know what color this would be, but I'm going to be using some cinnamon cider, and I don't have a small block or a small ink spot with the cinnamon cider, so I'm just using my my Stampin' marker. Can't talk today. Okay. That's probably every day. That's probably what you're saying. She never can talk. Okay, so I'm taking this Sahara sand here, and I'm going to blend some of that cinnamon cider in there. So it's not so gray. Sahara sand is like a very muted color, but I wanted to kind of brighten it up just a little bit. And so I'm going in right on the edge of that mossy meadow, and I'm just going to add a little bit more Sahara sand and a little bit more of this cinnamon cider, just a tad, rubbing those two on my brush. And so we're going to get more of a sandy bright color on here, and I like it a lot better than just the Sahara sand. It looks more brown. And you could also use early espresso, a very, very light color of early espresso, but I thought that was still a little bit too dark. So this is how I did it. Crumb cake would work probably with this too, with a little bit of that cinnamon cider on there. So I'm just going to take my rag and wipe these colors off, because I'm ready for my next colors. Okay, the next color that I'm going to be using is Pacific Point. Okay, that's this color here. I'm going to take and put some Pacific Point on my block like that. That might have been a little too much. I don't need too much Pacific Point, but we'll work with it. And I'm going to just rub a little bit on my brush. It's a very, very bold, deep color of blue, especially right out of the ink pad. So I'm rubbing it a little bit off here. And then I'm going to go in on the side, and we are going to color right above that Sahara sand mix. And if you need it to be a little bit more bold, just grab a little bit more and come in through the other side. And you can make it as dark as you want, but doing it this way, you won't have that blob of color. There we go. I like that. Maybe a little bit more shading right in the center here. And every time I like to come in from the side. Okay, go this way and that way. I never start in the middle, just in case I have too much ink on my brush. But doing it this way, it seems to be working for me. And the next color that I'm going to use is Pool Party. I want that sky to be kind of bright. Okay. And I'm going to grab this brush here. This is what I use with Bermuda Bay, Coastal Cabana, and, you know, like all of the shades that are sort of like watery turquoisey, like this Pool Party. I'm just going to grab all this color, rub it on my block, and I'm going to come in and color the sky like this. This is what I'm calling my sky. And I'm going to leave a little bit of white here, just a tiny little bit. I don't want to make it too bold. I kind of want a kind of a gradient color so that it looks like a little bit of clouds going on right there. Okay. And for the very, very top part of this design, I'm going to use a little bit of rich raspberry, but just a tiny, tiny bit. I don't want this to be too bold. So I'm going to grab my rich raspberry, and I'm going to try to get most of the color off on the block here, because all I want to do is just shade just a tiny little bit of the rich raspberry over the top of this Pool Party sky. And it's so faint, you probably aren't going to notice it too much, but I notice it here when I'm looking at it. Okay, now I think I'm done shading. So what I'm going to do is take this mask off, just peel this off. That. Oops, let's go this way here. go. And I'm going to take my adhesive eraser. I was looking for it. And I'm going to try to get all of the adhesive off of here that I have on the side. That's that temporary adhesive. We'll get that all off. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, so now what I'm going to do is some stamping. Let's put this cap on here. Okay, so like I said, the colors that I used, okay, I'm going to go over the colors so you know. Mossy Meadow. I have Sahara Sand with a little bit of cinnamon cider. And then I have the Pacific Point. And then I have some Pool Party, leaving a little bit of a gap to make it look like clouds. And then on the very, very edge, I have some Rich Razzleberry. Okay, so those are all the colors that I used. And you can use your big stamp pads if you want, but I find it a little more convenient to work with the smaller ones when I do this kind of technique. Okay, and the blending brushes. I love these blending brushes. They're so soft and beautiful. All right, now what I'm going to do is some stamping, just to make this kind of personal and pretty. So I'm going to be using some Memento black ink, and I have this little girl's design. That's this one here from the stamp set Beautiful Moments. I'm going to stamp the little girls walking by the beach. Okay, and you know, I think I'm going to turn it this way. When you have a bigger stamp, sometimes it's easier to just take your stamp pad and tap it while it's upside down like that. Okay, and just make sure you have a good amount and an even amount of ink on here, because unless you're using your Stamparatus, you really only have one shot here. So where am I putting? I'm going to put them right here, just kind of off the color a little bit, kind of like they're walking into the scene. I'm going to stamp down, stamp up, and there you have it. And also in that little in that stamp set, we have this little plant here. I think that's just kind of grass on the beach. I'm going to use that too. Let me find my stamp, because I have it on here. It is right here. And I'm going to just put that right about here. Oops. Yeah. We're going to set that right here. Okay. And I also have a little butterfly. Now, I'm not exactly sure if I've got this on right. If I've got this on straight. But, you know what? We're just going to go for it. Butterfly right here. Okay, right there. And then I have some birds. We want some birds flying off in the distance right here. Like that. And then I have a sentiment that says, thinking of you. And we're just going to set this right here, hoping I can get this nice and straight. The sentiment's going to go off the color a little bit, and we're just going to stamp that down. Hopefully it's straight. There we go. Just like that. Okay, now I'm going to, what do you think? Isn't that pretty? I love that. Now I'm going to go ahead and adhere this on my black, and for that I'm going to be using some seal adhesive. I still have some adhesive all over everything here. And just going to use a little seal. We're going to take this and make sure we have a nice even border all the way around, and it's going to be a really thin border, like a 1/16 of an inch maybe. Very, very thin border. Okay, and then we're going to take this and we're going to mount it on our, come on, our card base, which is in the Rich Razzleberry. Okay, and I want to make sure that I have it right. Yeah, it's going to open up this way, so that is going to be an 1/8 of an inch border all the way around. Okay, there we go. And now I'm going to put some white, Whisper White, on the inside. Let me go grab some Whisper White and cut a piece of Whisper White. I thought I had that piece already cut, but hey, let's cut a piece here. I've got plenty of Whisper White right here. Okay. No, this is the thick Whisper White. I don't want to use that. I want to use just the regular Whisper White. There we go. All right. I am going to cover this so that I don't get my hands all full of it. And wipe my fingers off. There we go. We're going to make this 4 inches, okay, by 4 inches. Move this out of the way. 4 inches by 4 inches. Okay. And then we are going to stamp on the inside of this with that little flourish of leaves and stuff wherever I put that. Here it is right here. We're going to go ahead and use some more Memento black ink, and I'm just going to stamp it right here on the corner like that. Then I'm going to put the butterfly again, which I think needs to go like this. I think the ink on my butterfly is a little, I think I kind of put it crooked, so I have to look at it this way. When I put my label on it, it's a little bit off. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and use the birds right here. And we're just going to put the birds right here, like that. And that is going to be the inside of our card, and they'll have enough room to write the note that they want to write. Or I will write a note. I think I'm going to give this to my little sister. I have 2 little sisters alive that are still alive. My youngest sister passed away, but I like to give cards to my sisters just to let them know that I am thinking of them. And so I think my little sister, the one that's just a couple years younger than me, she would really appreciate this card, so I think I will send it to her. So I am done with this card. And I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that I've taught you something, and I hope that you will try it, because this was a lot of fun for me to make, and I think you'll have a really good time making cards similar to this too. So all the supplies and the tools that I used in this video are going to be listed in the description. You could also go to my website at www.geamazingpapercrafts.stampinup.net. I'd be happy to be your demonstrator if you don't already have one. So once again, I'm Jeanette with Geamazing Paper Crafts, and you make it a great day. Bye-bye.